Uh, Good morning, everyone. I, Ashish Khandelwal, National President, All India Agricultural Student Association, congratulate and thankful to the sir, Dr. R.S. Padoda sir, for agreeing on for coming on our webinar live first live show for the challenges and opportunities before youth in agriculture. So before starting of the talk, I just want to introduce to the sir that Dr. R.S. Padoda sir has made valuable contribution in the field of agriculture, both as a researcher and an able administrator. His contribution in the field of plant breeding and genetics resource management are globally recognized. During the period 1994 to 2001, Dr. Padoda spreaded and modernized the National Agriculture Research System as Director General ICAR and Secretary DARE, Government of India. Under his dynamic leadership, more than 30 new National Institute were created in crops, horticulture, livestock, natural resource management, fishery, agriculture engineering, and social science sectors. The prestigious National Agriculture Technology Project to reorient agriculture research, education, and extension education of India was designed and negotiated with World Bank for $250 million in 1998 under his dynamic leadership. Honorable Dr. Padoda sir is the main architect of one of the world's largest and most modernized national gene bank in New Delhi, housing now more than 250,000 valuable germplasm accessions of different crops. The impressive National Agriculture Science Center complex built on Pusa campus was mainly his initiative and vision. International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics, that is ICRISAT, at Hyderabad, and the Agriculture Research Institute of Kazakhstan have named their gene banks after Dr. Padoda sir in recognition of his notable contribution in the field of genetic resource management. Dr. R.S. Padoda sir also received several nominations, and that include the most prestigious, that is the Padam Bhushan Award, that was presented by the President of India in 1998. Other awards conferred on him are, that is Rafi Ahmad Kidwai Award, ICAR Team Research Award, FICCI Award, Om Prakash Basin Award, Asia Pacific Seed Association Special Award, CGIAR Award for Outstanding Partnership in year 2000, Lifetime Award by Association of Agriculture Scientists in America, Dr. Harbhajan Singh Memorial Award, Dr. B.P. Pal Memorial Award, Bollog Award, ISCA Gold Medal for Excellence in Science, Gold Medals from Ministry of Armenia and Ministry of Agriculture Vietnam, Lifetime Achievement Award, Agriculture Today, Dr. A.B. Joshi Memorial Award 2012, Professor Kanyan Memorial Award, Krishi Shiromani Award, Samman by Mahindra and Mahindra Limited, and the first US Avasti IFCO Award for the lifetime achievement in the field of agriculture, development and agriculture research in year 2017. Honorable Dr. R.S. Padoda sir has been conferred fellowship of most national science academics like INSA, NAS, NASI. He was elected as General President of the prestigious Indian Science Congress in 2000-2001. Among international recognition, he was elected as Fellow of Agriculture Academies of Russia, Georgia, Armenia, Tajikistan, and the Third World Academy of Science. He also served as president of more than a dozen agriculture scientific societies in India. Both American Societies of Agronomy and the Crop Science Society of America awarded him with the prestigious honorary membership in 2001. Honorable Dr. Padoda sir has also been made conferred honorary DSc by 17 academic institutions or universities, including Ohio State University, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, Scientific Council of Agriculture Academy, Republic of Azerbaijan, and State Agriculture University of Pantnagar, Kanpur, Jorhat, Coimbatore, Hyderabad, Udaipur, Varanasi, Srinagar, Meerut, Bhubaneswar, Ludhiana, Dharwad, Jabalpur, and Hyderabad. Dr. R.S. Podda sir was instrumental in establishing Global Forum on Agriculture Research in FAO, Rome, and served it as a founder president from 1988 to 2001. He was instrumental in establishing Asia Pacific Association of Agriculture Research Institutions at FAO Bangkok and served with great distinctions as executive secretary for more than 2 decades. Today, APARI is a very vibrant regional organization. He is the first Indian to have served as a chairman of ICRISAT board of trustee. He also served as a member of board of trustee of IRI, member of WMO high level task force on climate services, member of advisory council of Australian Centre for International Agriculture Research, member of the finance committee of CGIAR, and member of the governing body of the Commonwealth Agriculture Bureau International. Dr. Podda sir successfully organized several international conferences like Second International Crop Science Congress, most prestigious Indian Science Congress, Global Conference on Women in Agriculture Science Congress, Global Conference for Agriculture Research and Development, and the first International Agro-Biodiversity Congress in year 2016. For the overall benefit of farmer, lately Dr. Podda served as chairman, Farmer Commission of Haryana, chairman of working group on agriculture and member of Rajasthan Planning Board. Under his direction, the state agriculture policies both in Haryana and Rajasthan were approved. Currently, he is member of Strategic Impact Monitoring and Evaluation Committee of CGIAR and also served on the board of International Fertilizer Development Center, Muscle Shoals, Alabama, USA. As chairman of the Trust for Advancement of Agricultural Sciences, that is TAS, his goal during last 2 decades is to link science to society through policy, advocacy, and public awareness. So we are very grateful to Dr. R.S. Podda sir that he came to our association to present the valuable talk on the challenges on opportunities before youth in agriculture. So kindly, sir, I request you to start the talk.
Thank you, Ashish, for that generous introduction. Good morning to all of you. It's indeed a matter of great pleasure to have this interface during the period of lockdown. Most of you must be either at your home or in your hostels, trying to live to a different lifestyle. I think we will have to adjust ourselves to a different life system, which COVID-19 has forced on us. I thought what to talk to you when Ashish asked me. And since most of you are at a stage when I myself started my career, and at that time, very few used to take agriculture as a profession. Rather, my colleagues all laughed at me when I decided to go for BSc in agriculture and not in medical science or in engineering. But I don't have any regret when I have, in retrospect, a look at what could be done. Let me say, you are proud to be in a noble profession. This is a profession which serves the society. And it is not for you, yourself you work, but you work for all those who need household food and nutrition security. So with this, I also see that today there are better opportunities, but at the same time, challenges are not less. And youth has to play its important role. So I'm likely to talk to you in the context of the Bengal famine. When I was born, my mother used to introduce me to relatives that he was born during the year of Bengal famine. That famine was not because of any specific disease, but was mainly a famine due to shortage of food and wrong policies at that time of the government. And in eastern India, mainly in West Bengal, Bihar and Assam, more than 10 million people died. From that era of famine, I thought in my lifetime, we possibly had left that era of famine behind and no more pandemics, though 10 pandemics did take place before, but COVID-19 has again awakened us to take care of not only our natural resources, but to take care of the society as a whole. And the challenge before agriculture uh, is to see that we continue providing good food, nutritious food to our ever increasing population which has now reached 1.37 billion. From the status of begging bowl, when I was student at IRI and seeds of green revolution were being sown, uh, at that time I had an opportunity to start working and going to Jayanti village and other villages around and sow those miracle seeds of wheat imported by us from Mexico, Dr. Borlaug, Dr. Swaminathan, Dr. B.P. Pal, Dr. A.B. Joshi, Dr. Amir Singh. It was really an opportunity to see what we can do to achieve uh, self-sufficiency because we didn't have money to buy. We were importing at that time almost 10 million tons of food grains, and our security was from ship to mouth as to which ship will land in which part of the country and where that food will be distributed. From that begging bowl status, today we have come to an era of self-sufficiency. Also, we are not now importing but an exporting country, and exporting more than 40 billions of food grains and other agricultural items. And thanks to the science that we today have accomplished green, white, blue, and also rainbow revolutions. In that respect, when we look at, we have had unprecedented growth, six-fold increase in our food grains. Horticulture production has excelled even food grain production for the first time over the last 5 years. As against fourfold increase in population, we could demonstrate to the rest of the world that we can take care and not only take care of ourselves, but can provide food to other developing countries needing our assistance. We could reduce poverty, which was around 70% at that time, to 20%. Still, it is not a very happy situation. And buffer stock could be built to more than 50 million tons and export only of food grains. Other items beside is of more than 20 million tons. As a result, we also helped nation and the people to increase their life expectancy, which got doubled. No doubt, the health facilities also are responsible, medical facilities are responsible, but without food, without good nutrition, this would have not been possible. The recent estimates by the government, which you might have read only last week, that we have had record production despite all these constraints, not only of food grains, of rice, of wheat, of maize, of oil seeds, and also of cotton. In sugarcane, today India has 4 million tons buffer stock, which we cannot export because our prices are not competitive. But from shortage, we have come to an era where we can think of not only taking care of ourselves, but also exporting to other nations who would probably be needing more of this help when COVID-19 is going to have its impact on food and nutrition security the world around. Therefore, recently, we have come out with an open letter signed by more than 170 eminent people, including Nobel laureates, some prime ministers, former prime ministers, also the food laureates, also Padma awardees from India, and many agricultural leaders, and this letter has gone to UN and the G20 and other national leaders, that if we do not take care of globalization of agriculture and don't impose barriers, probably we will be doing better for food security at the global level. Otherwise, things may really be much more difficult for those who are unable to produce but need this kind of support. Thanks to these revolutions, white, you can imagine from 17 million ton, 184 million ton. In horticulture, from less than 95, we have increased threefold. And in case of blue, not from the marine capture, but from inland fishery, which was not there before 50 years. Now it is inland fishery which has led to blue revolution. And today our production has gone to 12.6 million tons. And we are one of the larger exporters of fish and shrimp, etc. When you look at India has not done bad in trying to compare with the rest of the world. Often people say we are behind that, we are behind China, we are behind USA, we are behind Egypt and whatnot. But when you look at it, our rank in rice is second, wheat second, pulses, we are the largest producer and largest consumer. In case of rapeseed, we are number third, and groundnut number two, fruits number two, vegetables also number two, and sugarcane also number two, and in milk we are number one. In meat, we have all the potential to raise our rank in the world in the near future. However, having said all this, despite these revolutions, why it is necessary to reorient agriculture? Often people ask me, when I wrote year before a book on reorienting Indian agriculture, some of colleagues did ask, do we really need this to be reoriented? And maybe at the end of my presentation, you yourself will assess whether we need to reorient or be complacent and remain happy with what we are today. Looking at the challenges that, my dear young friends, you today have, we had also similar challenges before, but you have to face these because the poverty has to be eliminated, hunger has to be also addressed, especially malnutrition of children. India has the largest concentration of malnourished children below 5 years of age in whole of the world. We have protein malnourishment, and the climate change is also taking its toll. So we have to see as to what we can do. On the other side, when we look at the farmers' angle, farmers are now finding less income from their efforts. Youth, particularly, this is what I'm going to talk to, is not interested in agriculture, not find it as a respectable profession and attractive, economically useful profession. And no doubt, farmers and we all, including whether it is research or whether it is development, the policy support for additional investment. In that respect, when we look at the second generation problems of Green Revolution, they are real. There is factor productivity decline in soil health and water table, macronutrient imbalance has taken place, more of nitrogen being used than a balanced use of phosphorus and potash. Micronutrient deficiency is another issue. Diseases because of the tropical and subtropical climate and cropping intensity increase, also increasing. The dependence on costly inputs has been now there, leading to less farm profitability. Also, we have the concern for high labor cost, because most of the labor is now either migrating, but now you see there is a reverse migration. If agriculture would have not been there, where this labor which had gone to urban areas for better opportunities of job and income would have gone. You have to also realize that agriculture is one profession over which 55% of our population is still dependent. So therefore, agriculture, I see, is a profession which is going to remain important and which has to be made much more stronger, and whatever reorientation is needed must be taken care of. Economic Survey of India over the last 2 years, 2018 and 2019, has come out with criticism of Green Revolution, stating that it had been an over-exploitative and non-sustainable approach. My dear friends, if we had not produced, what would have been the situation today for starving people? Now we can say when we have enough that it was over-exploitative, because at that time when our Prime Minister Indira Gandhi went to US to beg for food, she was declined. And when you don't get food back, imagine what happens. If you go to your neighbor and ask for atta or dal, perhaps that will put you in a most worst situation compared to any other situation elsewhere. No doubt, they recognized that it ensured food security, but it was mainly around few crops, rice, wheat, maize, and pulses. Over-exploitation of water had taken place, no doubt. Without that, would have not been possible. But yes, we have been over-exploiting. This is an issue which has to be looked at. Soil nutrients have been depleted. Organic matter content is low. And we have been using more energy. We had made agriculture more labor intensive, and therefore we have to look for alternatives like farm mechanization, etc. And mostly the farmers became dependent on government subsidy, minimum support price, and food procurement, etc. But at the same time, we have to recognize that thanks to the vision of the leaders that they created, required infrastructure and invested heavily through capital investment in agriculture, which has gone down by 50% today. Net sown area has increased, but has now remained static for over last 4 decades. We are fortunate to have this much cultivable land. It is even more than that of China. So China is much bigger in size than us. Gross cropped area has increased again significantly, thanks to the vision of building highest dam and longest canal, that our net irrigated area has increased and got doubled since 1970, and it is at around 68 to 70 million hectares today. Gross irrigated area has been increased. The seed corporations were established and the new seed has been provided. And today we are able to meet about 67% of the demand. And fertilizer use, we were never using any fertilizer till 70s, till Green Revolution. Now today, we are one of the important fertilizer producing of about 25 to 27 million tons of being used in India, more than 107 kg per hectare. Now, obviously, the attention that is required to be given, that okay, cereal-based systems, we had to now think of having sustainable cropping systems, and we have to reorient it to make it both profitable and sustainable. So therefore, we should look for diversification of agriculture. We should look for secondary agriculture, not only depend on crops, but maybe on forestry, maybe on horticulture, maybe also on livestock fishery, and even beekeeping. We have to go for specialty agriculture like mushroom production, going in for protected agriculture. And now is the time for you. For us, the challenge was to the next generation will be how to save what we produce and not let the losses be there to the level that they are today, between 5 to almost 30%, depending on different crops. So we have to manage the produce that we have and going for post-production opportunity as well as a challenge. And the challenges of sustainable development goals that are before us are that we have to meet these by 2030. If we don't do this, we have already lost 5 years. By 2030, we have to achieve the level of no poverty, zero hunger. We have to make our agriculture climate resilient, and we have to build stronger partnerships. Recognize that if we didn't have partnership earlier with institutions like CEMET in Mexico for wheat and IRRI in Philippines for rice, possibly we would have not got the green revolution. Therefore, this partnership has to be understood and further strengthened if we have to achieve similar results in future in different sectors of agriculture. In this respect, now I come to the main aspect of youth and agriculture. You all know that around 20% youth is there in the total global population, which is likely to be 9 billion by 2050. India is likely to be the most populated country. We may beat China in another decade's time. We are already approaching them at around 1.37 billion. And we do have one good situation, and that is that India's population is expected to remain younger than even China and countries like USA, Europe, and Japan. Our average is currently 30 years, as against 40 in US, 46 in Europe, and 47 in Japan. And we are, as I told you before, sustaining more than 55% of the people. And today in India, we have 356 million young people between 10 to 24 years, of which about 200 million live in rural areas alone. So how do you utilize this human resource effectively for the benefit of the nation as well as for benefit of all of them is an issue which has to be looked at. Challenges before youth: lack of access to good knowledge. I think even when we talk to the farmers, progressive farmers of the Green Revolution region, today they would say, we don't need subsidy, but we need good education, good knowledge. And we want to see what others are doing to be successful. We have obviously limited access to land holding because most of our farmers are small and marginal, lack of financial resources, difficulties in linking to market, which is a bigger challenge. I think I'll come to it later. And obviously at the household level, youth has hardly any decision-making voice. The major concern is we have to change the social image of agriculture. Agriculture cannot be treated as a non-science subject. It has to be taught even in school. And we have to attract best talent to go in agriculture to make it more effective and efficient. And there exists an aspirational attainment gap. When I talk to youth in various parts of the country, uh, they often ask me, "Sir, tell me, we are going to be an entrepreneur, but would we be able to send our children to the same school where you had sent your children?" I think this is what is the challenge. We have to create infrastructure. We have to improve social progress index in rural areas, for which there is need for both the capital investment, whether it is public or by private sector. And we have to see that there are better facilities, amenities, and opportunities, be it rural or urban area. In that respect, now we should see as to what is way forward. Obviously, you would ask me, okay, agriculture is good, we would like to go for it, we have already opted for it, but then what we can do? In this process, let me say, be globally wise. Never think and never be introvert. Try to see what is success elsewhere and see whether we can also act locally, because often to say that I need this support, that support is secondary. The first support has to be self-support. Charity must begin at home. So we must act locally. If I go abroad and see best institutions, best universities, and come back and best national science centers and come back and don't create, or if I look at good gene bank in the US and don't create it in our own country, then whom to blame? We have to take this responsibility and challenge to do something locally. And to do that, we have to also understand what has happened globally to encourage youth. In that respect, Ashish did tell you earlier about Global Forum on Agriculture Research, which I happen to be the founder, president, and it is established in FAO Rome. And this global forum is a forum of all stakeholders, not only of scientists, but also of private sector, of NGOs, and also of farmers. And we started having the international symposia organized. And the one symposium in 2006 was organized in India and New Delhi. And at that symposium, an international forum of youth professionals for agriculture development was launched, because we did realize that they need to be embraced. They had to be brought in our fold, and they had to be given some kind of directions. And for that, YPAD was established. The importance of youth in agriculture was further emphasized and structurally debated, where out of 700 to 800 participants in the global forum, which we organized in Montpellier in 2010, of which I was chairman of the organizing committee, and of 2012 in Ponte del Este in Uruguay, we could get more than 100 to 150 youth to participate and play their important role and make their voice known to the rest of the world, that they have to listen to the aspirations of the youth and look for opportunities that exist before them. So these two new initiatives, in fact, had been the beginning at the global level for the youth. And then we started the national initiative at that time with Dr. Ayyappan, and I through TAS and APARI planned to have a national conference organized for youth in New Delhi, which led to initiation of ARIA program. You all know about it, attracting rural youth in agriculture is an important first initiative. And then we thought that probably only attraction cannot be there unless you motivate them. So we started having the regional dialogue at Asia Pacific level, then also national dialogue, and then zonal workshop for youth in regions like South at Hyderabad and for North in uh, Ludhiana. And we could see that there is great enthusiasm among youth. And when they were brought and asked to uh, see whether they would like to embrace agriculture and be entrepreneurs, I can tell you the enthusiasm was much more satisfying than anything else. I won't go into the details of the government initiative that are shown in this particular slide, but there are programs like ARIA, Student Ready, which is built up on the Ravi program, which was started during my time to expose our final year students to rural work experience. And Startup India, Stand Up India, National Skill Development Mission. Probably you can have the details of all these on the websites of these ministries. Make in India, Skill India, Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, PM Yuva. There are several of such initiatives which now are there, but we have to see whether we can take advantage of these and how they can be beneficial. NABARD has been strengthened. Recently, the finance minister has doubled its allocation for support to entrepreneurs and give credit at a reasonable interest rate. So there are issues. And when we look at the future roadmap, then we see that youth has to be not treated only as farmer. In my opinion, youth to be now considered as a value chain developer who can make the difference, who can link farmer to the market, who can increase the value of the produce, and who can ensure better income than to be exploited by middlemen, which is the present situation. Government to provide enabling policy environment for long-term investments, easy and soft credit, which is an important requirement, subsidy to entrepreneurs, easy market linkage, also provision for allocation of land, water, and market law reforms, tax exemption. If it is rule-based primary value addition initiated by youth, and the private sector also has to come forward to have Agri-Youth Innovation Corpus Fund created so as to have the creation of agri-clinics where well-trained youth in different sectors of agriculture can provide efficient services and have better impact on the future progress of farmers. So in the future roadmap, we have also, and I will tell you later that we have recently also submitted a report to the government, and we have through these various national and regional conferences recommending that there is need to create a separate department of youth in agriculture. In Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, youth has to be given its due importance and place. There has to be a national mission on youth in agriculture. Why not? We have mission on all other aspects. And when agriculture is still contributing 17% to national GDP, we have to also see that we encourage agri-service centers to provide customized services to the farmers for farm mechanization. Labor is costly. In my village, now farmers don't have the bullocks for plowing the land. Even on my own farm, I hire the services of young people who go in to do the planting, sowing, and also threshing of the farm operations at a custom hire basis. Why not? This is further encouraged. We have to encourage youth to get involved in the electronic national agriculture marketing system that government is thinking of, link them to even global system. We have to see that they take advantage of startup, stand-up, and skill development schemes, and take up agribusiness enterprises and become not only the entrepreneurs, but also help in uh, farmers to come up with farmer producer organizations. So what we want today from youth is not to be a job creator, but a job seeker. Now, this would require youth, including women, to become extension agents. Why not paid extension? Now the knowledge for the specialty and secondary agriculture is not like providing the seeds of miracle wheat and rice so that it will get disseminated from farmer to farmer. We have to reduce the dissemination losses while extending the knowledge to the farmer. And that can only be done when there is trained youth who has his own profession around extension and who makes earning on it so that he will give the best knowledge to the farmer. Youth as input provider, best inputs at right time at farmer store of best quality. Youth as entrepreneur to come forward and then also to go in for agri clinics about which I talked before. So in the last part of this presentation, I would like to say that what we need is to look for innovation, not for only research for sake of publishing papers. And that's why we need reorientation of agriculture to see that our future focus is on innovation, not only on research for research sake alone. Globally, those nations are progressing much faster who are laying greater emphasis on innovation than otherwise. And in that respect, we have to look for innovations which are also unique innovations, which are the kind of innovations which can have access to all and which have more from less, which means you think of smartphones. Today, smartphone can provide the same knowledge whether you are an industrialist or a farmer if you are interested in knowing about any specific subject. So we have to look at disruptive innovations. And we have to look in agriculture also and see that we scale them up. Scale them up for future successes. And I would like to show you that there are various innovations which can be scaled up, where you have your great future opportunities, whether producing hybrid seed of maize, bajra, sorghum, rice, and other crops, vegetables. The coverage is not even more than 50 to 60% today. We can make it 100% and increase production and productivity. Biotechnology, time would not permit me to go into these details, maybe subject for discussion on a later seminar. Conservation agriculture. Globally, world is taking advantage of conservation agriculture, no-till agriculture. And we in India, in our rain-fed areas, are still going in for clean cultivation of fields, because conceptually, we cannot think that without cultivation, you can have the next crop sown. Protected cultivation, where you can increase income of the people even 5 to 10-fold. Micro irrigation, We can avoid flood irrigation, increase our potential for irrigation to larger areas. We can go in for bioenergy and biofuel, like what I said before. If in sugarcane we have more excess sugar produced, then why not sugarcane, as was done in Brazil, or maize, as is being done in US, to use them for biofuel. Farmers will get benefited. Farmers will get linked to a new market, and we will have opportunities to increase our production and productivity because there will be incentive linked to it. Biofortified crops for better nutrition and household nutrition security, and then ICT, as I told you, for knowledge empowerment. Private sector like Indian Tobacco Company and many others are coming forward with their own app. Private youngsters are coming to disseminate knowledge and showing video clips for operations as needed to different eco regional situations. What happened to BT cotton? If we had not released BT cotton, and I must say, I was associated at that time to put all regulatory system and also bring in the Plant Variety Protection Act and for the IPR protection for innovators and BT cotton. Now today you see the success. Time doesn't permit me to go into, but I think this PowerPoint is going to be made available by Ashish, so you can have a look at these. But today we are, rather than importer, one of the largest exporters of cotton. We are exporting cotton worth 4.5 billion. We have increased production by threefold. We have reduced the pesticide use, which used to be 50% in agriculture on cotton alone, by 40%. And still we say that this technology is not good for the farmers. No farmer has ever said that, but we have still uninformed and maybe vested interest of some of the lobbies who go against the adoption of these technologies. The same reservation was there when dwarf wheats and rices were brought in. And at that time, even the articles were coming, great gene robbery and whatnot. And the entire genetic resource will be wiped out and we will be left with nothing. We have a gene bank where all those genetic resources are conserved and being used today. Conservation agriculture, as I told you, now without cultivating the wheat field, as you see here in the bottom left side, you can plant mung bean and have a sustainable cereal legume-based system. In rice fields, you can have directly wheat planted and so on. But you need good knowledge for it. You need this to be taken up in a mission mode. Protected cultivation. China today has 2 million hectare area under protected cultivation. That's why they are the largest vegetable producers in the world. Why can't we be? But our area under protected cultivation is only 50,000 hectares. We started laying emphasis after NATP, about which Ashish mentioned in 2000. In 20 years, the area covered is only 50,000 hectares. Why can't it be doubled in next 5 years? Or why not we go in for 1 million hectare by an aggressive approach? Why can't we think of new options? And these would require innovative approaches and would require talented youth with better knowledge, informed knowledge and exposure. And there are many successful entrepreneurs through our conferences. We have seen that you really can do wonders. Now here, these shipping containers, which are lying idle and of no use, have been repurposed by entrepreneurs, and one shipping container after repurpose, it can give you a production equivalent to that of 2 acres of green produce for salad in the vegetable market of city like Boston. We will have to think of some of these uh, innovative approaches, micro irrigation with all emphasis, which was started again during late 90s when we started with subsidy on micro irrigation and 75% subsidy for women farmers. The area still is only 10 million hectare as against the 66 million hectare of irrigated area. This can further be doubled and we can increase the water use by 30 to 40% and can have greater other benefits associated with it. We are still broadcasting the fertilizer. Why we don't go in for Ferticum seed drill and ban this broadcasting? Why not we ban flooding of irrigation? And why not we go in for decision support systems and go in for precision farming, whether even it is use of nitrogen, liquid nitrogen use as is being done in countries like US and Israel. The last part is that you produce, but where to sell. And our marketing systems, Essential Commodity Act, APMC Act would not permit you to take it from your mandis directly even to sell to others who want it. We need to change it. And I'm glad that this change based on a report which was given last year to the government at the request of Principal Scientific Advisor, which I happen to chair. And this report is also on your website, I presume. You can have a look at it, which also includes a lot of options for youth and the technology which are to be skilled and policy reorientation that is needed. But I'm happy that one of the recommendations on market reforms has been taken up front and accepted. And we have been all the time talking since ages that Bharat ek कृषि प्रधान देश है. But we have never said भारत को हमें कृषक प्रधान देश बनाना है. So farmer first should be our motive now, and to make farmer first, we need talented youth to make the difference. I'm glad the EPMC Act, also the Essential Commodity Act, government is going to amend and bring in a reformed marketing act and would ensure e-trading of agriculture produce, barrier-free interstate trade and transfer of produce. Unless this is done, we can never achieve ENAM, about which we are all aspiring. There are a lot of, again, options there. Like I said, support to NABARD for credit to entrepreneurs. And here, 1 lakh crore agriculture infrastructure fund being created, whether for go down, whether for post-harvest management, and so on. And in that respect, I do see that we have to now look at newer options and try to go in for taking benefit of these approaches which are now available, whether it is crop loan, whether it is a facility provided for primary agriculture cooperative or farmer produce organization or agriculture entrepreneur or startups. So these are the areas which have to be thought of. And finally, I would like to say, while concluding, that our future challenge is for food, nutrition, health, and environmental security. Now, for health more after the COVID-19 pandemic, we have to provide good food, nutritious food, the food which is safe, the food which can be produced locally, and for which there are options and opportunities. So agriculture not to be considered as cause of any problem. I would like to only leave the message that agriculture is a solution for achieving sustainable development goals for which we are today aspiring. Even for going in for the uh, climate change commitment under Paris Agreement. And the task ahead is indeed difficult, but not insurmountable, provided needed policy support is there, and support is there, especially for agriculture research for development funding. We have been arguing for it to double this allocation of AR4D for the last 10 years. Unfortunately, allocation of the ICR has not increased at all over the last 1 decade. How can we expect to achieve these challenges if we don't have Institute of Banana well supported? We can't be the banana producer and the leader in the world. If we have to export the grapes and we have to also raisins and wine, then you have to have an institute on grape. If tomorrow you have to export like Philippine orchids, in which we have great diversity, you have to have an institute on orchid. These institutions were created, but these institutions today, whether universities or whether ICR institutes, they are starving of funds. And practically all allocation is only for staff salary. So something will have to be done there. We have to scale innovations, which I talked about. So we must have a clear way forward and try to act fast to achieve secure and sustainable agriculture as we move forward. And this is the only way by which we can have better future for our younger generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for giving a very valuable talk. And so during a conversation, we received some questions also, as well as we can say some comments. So we can discuss that thing.
Sure.
One person asked that, what is the scope of plant breeding and genetics student in private sector?
Yes. Should I answer right now? Then I think, let me say, in the most developed nations, plant breeding has all gone in the private hands. When I came back from UK, where I worked, the famous Plant Breeding Institute in Cambridge, it was put on auction to the private sector because government thought that this is not their baby anymore, because it is not only coming out with the improved varieties and hybrids, but it is then also intellectual property right. It is producing the seed. It is then making it available to the farmer and have it marketed efficiently and effectively. And private sector in India has come forward, and some of the private seed companies have their own strong R&D organizations. I definitely see that in future in US, no university releases varieties, but they do provide support to these organizations in public-private partnership mode. So it is a win-win on both sides, because here when I talk to even the biotechnologists, where they have a lot of new innovation, they say, sir, how do I take it to the farmer? Because I don't have access now to multiply and to have incubator or to market it. So you need linkage. And that's what is going to happen in future. And time is right now for it. It is happening. It will happen more. The vegetable hybrid program is currently dominated mostly by the private seed sector.
Yes, sir. Sir, another question is why ICAR is not starting recruitment drive in every university each year?
Pardon? Different?
So why ICAR is not starting recruitment drive in every university every year?
Well, I think this question has to be considered by ICR. What I can say at this time is that we need to be now innovative. And even ICR also has to think differently. Like KVKs now cannot be only for frontline demonstrations. KVKs also should be changed as institutions for future where they provide window for entrepreneurs and for youngsters to develop their skill. So there is skill empowering center rather than only demonstration center. And, therefore in the process, I'm sure some of these suggestions can be taken up and discussed with the leadership in the council.
Sir, another question is how to motivate youths for agriculture in areas such as Ladakh, which remains disconnect with other parts of the country for at least 6 months?
Well, I think DRDO has been doing quite a lot in Ladakh as far as agriculture research is concerned, and opportunities if we have to think in terms of going in for producing vegetable seed in temperate areas up to Lahore, Spiti, we are already producing and taking advantage of, but more can be done. And I do see an opportunity of not only an institution in Ladakh for agriculture research, like we created in Eastern region, the university like Central Agricultural University and ICR Research Institute for Northeastern region in Patna were created at that time to look at the requirements of those regions. And today you have agriculture colleges in all those eastern states and veterinary colleges where we had nothing before. So with the new setup of the government in Ladakh, more independence, I'm sure agriculture support also will be forthcoming.
Sir, another question is, at a current state, it happens somewhere that there is the lack of coordination between the state and the center. So there is the need to create Agriculture Council of India and as well as State Agriculture Council. So, sir, what is your view in that?
You please read our report, which is already in your hands. And there are very specific recommendations for structural reforms, institutional reforms. We know agriculture is a state subject. That's why marketing could not be thought of earlier. But now government has decided to go ahead to bring in reforms in Market Act. Similarly, we know today education being a state subject, some states are teaching agriculture in schools and some states don't. We know that water is a state subject and the problems are there which are interstate. So we have said that let there be like GST council for the tax between state and center. There should be also a council for agriculture research for development headed by Prime Minister and to be based in Niti Aayog. We have also said every state should have a farmers commission, including in the center, so that there is a mechanism, institutional mechanism to link with farmers and raise their voice, which are justified. Not that they have to come on the road to raise their voice and assess those properly. And I had done it while being chairman of Haryana Farmers Commission and we brought in a lot of reforms, thanks to, again, the policy makers who listened. Again, we have said that there should be an agricultural education council at the national level, like you have veterinary council for veterinary subject alone. But we need this for all agricultural subjects, not only for veterinary. So why not expand that and make it agriculture council and have the system which I started for what you call is accreditation, a system of accreditation for imparting quality education and ensuring that there is a specific standard maintained by all, whether it is for admission, whether it is for courses, or whether it is for practical training.
Sir, another question is whether government should permit the cultivation of transgenic crops to farmers in the field of agriculture biotechnology.
We have again recommended very clearly that whole world, about 190 hectare area today is taking benefit of biotechnology. Our recent letter to the UN and also G20 is speaking about it, and we have always been arguing. Even at one time, more than 50 eminent scientists, including the World Food Laureates and the Padma awardees, including Dr. Swaminathan, had written to the Prime Minister that we must give support to the technology that is already available and have it released so that farmers are benefited. It is in the national interest. Why don't we have at least the BT soybean and the canola? We are importing today soybean and also oilseed and crushing it and using oil. And when you use it as oil, you don't, if you have, refined oil, there is no entry of protein in the human system. So there is no question of any phytotoxicity element, even if there is any concern and doubt in anybody's mind. But scientifically, it has been proven globally, including about 100 Nobel laureates who had also written on this subject, that these crops are, and even Borlaug used to argue very strongly that the future lies in taking benefit of new technologies, whether it is biotechnology, nanotechnology, artificial intelligence, use of drones, and big data.
Okay, sir. So recently, Government of India has launched 20,000 crore rupees for the development of fisheries sector. How youth of the country can contribute towards it so that small-scale farmers can be benefited?
As I told in the presentation, that fishery sector is a sector which is moving very fast, and there are opportunities, whether it is the hatcheries for fish seed, whether it is cage cultivation, whether it is ponds. A successful farmer in Karnal, who is today known as King of the North India for fish seed production, and also linked himself to the export market, starting from just 1 or 2 acres of land. Today, he has gone to a very high level and made success of it. So there are opportunities, but for that you need good knowledge. You need to be aware as to where is the market. You must link it with the market make sure that there is cool chain, and also there is tremendous opportunity for export market. Today, India is one of the largest shrimp exporters in the world. So there is great potential and opportunities, and most of these fish farmers otherwise are poor and small holders. So providing them this kind of backstopping, hand holding, as entrepreneur would need also mentorship, hand holding by institutions, credit. These kinds of things can be provided by young entrepreneurs who are trained. Even in case of horticulture, I need today good quality saplings of mango or quinoa or of amla. But from where to get is a big question, and whether those are certified. And that's why in our report we have said that there should be a mission also on the horticulture nursery production. There is ample opportunity, but we must try to look at the niche, the market around, what is being produced, what is to be sold, even seed spices. Rajasthan is the largest seed spice producer, but how many are engaged in making masala and then packing and distributing, except what you see MDH and few others? These can be locally done and value added, and these farmers can be organized through the farmer producer organizations or self-help group, and some of the successful entrepreneurs have done it. Now there is a farmer in dairy in Jind who has 2,000 Murrah buffaloes. He has a dairy of himself. He has his own feed plant, and he produces in whole village the feed for his animals. He doesn't own land, but all farmers are benefited and are producing fodder for him. So it is a win-win, but it would require a commitment and initiative.
Sir, another question is, ICR has to recruit at least one post as specialty in fisheries in each KVK, but most of the KVK don't follow this. Can you put some comment on it?
We have already recommended, I chaired the high-level committee on KVKs. Please have a look at that. It's on the website of ICAR. And there we have suggested that those areas where fishery or animal husbandry, or for that matter, horticulture, we must have specialists from that field. Of course, it can't be in every district where there is no scope, but wherever there is, and therefore these specialists who are going to be 10, presently they are 6, I recommended that they be raised to 10. I don't think though cabinet approved the note, has been yet approved by the finance, but there must be experts in all sectors. If it is seed production, we must have seed technologists. If it is fishery, we must have expert in fishery. And if it is the dairy, then why not in livestock and so on. That is the only way.
Sir, one person asked a question that in India, there are so many agriculture universities like government university as well as private university, and nowadays private universities are also opening, means also affiliated with the government colleges. So there is the very less job, particularly like ARS or other recruitment. However, there is the concept of that we should create the job. That is another thing, but we are not getting job from last 2 years. So what is the comment in that? Means we are providing
in my presentation, I made it very clear. Don't look at job. Don't look for white collar jobs. Be a job creator, my dear. Yes, and I can show you, take you. In fact, this is another area which your student union should undertake to encourage entrepreneurs and expose them to the successful enterprises wherever they are, to learn by visiting and seeing. And in that, I have seen that these young entrepreneurs have created jobs for others and are also, like if it is a biopesticide, one young entrepreneur who came back from US after training is now based in Bangalore, has his own company, and is in less than just a decade is approaching a turnover of about 1,000 crore, employing more than 300 people. So there are options, opportunities, and there are many of these I have seen. This will create employment, not only self-employment, but employment opportunities for others. Even one lady here who is uneducated, whom we got identified as best women entrepreneur and gave her best farmer award, making pickles, is employing more than Ms. Yadav, employing more than 500 people and earning for herself and for others. And there is definite demand for that. I think it's called Krishna pickles or something like that. IRA supported that. And KVKs have helped a great deal in this respect. I must admire many of these young entrepreneurs say that if we would have not got the knowledge and education, probably through KVKs, we would have not succeeded.
Sir, one person asked that nowadays accreditation board is there and it allows accreditation after the first batch pass out. If we can do the accreditation at initial stage only, then we can stop or we can check the maximum privatization or public means maximum irregular or quality, or we can improve the quality education in the country.
I think I agree fully with you. Even no one should be allowed to start a college unless accredited. Why accredit it after first batch is out? These reforms are needed. There was no accreditation when I was Director General. We started the system for the first time and linked it to allocation of funds to the universities from ICR only through accredited process. As I told you before, that's why we need. And there are states like in Karnataka, also in Punjab, hundreds of colleges in Maharashtra have been initiated without even any approval or consultation with either the university concerned or with the ICR concerned. And then fait accompli is that later they all come and ask for the funding. Bifurcation of agricultural universities into horticulture, veterinary, and fishery became another new initiative which we tried to discourage, but then it is politically supported, so it becomes difficult. You can't dissect agriculture into different sectors and say different institutions will impart knowledge about holistic agriculture, whereas you are only dealing with either fishery or with animal husbandry. We want broader outlook, broader education, better education, and therefore it is right time that this Agriculture Education Council of India is created at the earliest, as recommended in our report.
Sir, pink bollworms have gained resistance to Bt genes due to non-compliance with refugee mandate. Is there any potential toxins to control PBW, pink bollworm?
In fact, this was right in the beginning when we had released Bt cotton. It was a requirement, and even with all seed packets, refuse seed is provided. but then farmers are not planting it. And what is needed is the post-release monitoring system, which seem to have not been in existence that effectively or operative at all. And that's what in my Supreme Court report on the GM, I have specifically recommended that there is definite need for post-release monitoring system to be put in place. Also, there is need to strengthen the registration system and the secretariat, whether to be strengthened further with uh, those scientists who don't have any conflict of interest.
Sir, increased privatization will lead to increased pressure on our farmer to keep buying hybrid seed every growing season. What is your view in that?
I come from Rajasthan. Probably you may also be from Rajasthan or UP. And I come from desert area. And when I talk to the farmer, why don't you buy the cheaper variety seed of the bajra? He'll say, sir, thank you very much. मुझे तो सिर्फ संकर जाति का बाजरा चाहिए, मुझे और कोई बाजरा नहीं चाहिए, क्योंकि अगर मैं अच्छा बीज नहीं डालूंगा तो मेरी पैदा ही नहीं होगी. What to talk of thinking of any crop. So it is. Has any farmer ever questioned that the price of BT cotton is very high, and why millions of farmers covering 11 million hectare area are growing only BT cotton? I think this is just by those who try to talk against the technology. And there, what I have been suggesting, and we must take care of, that there must be competition. Obviously, monopoly would lead to increase and exploitation to a certain extent. But for that, why not we go in for giving the licensing, exclusive licensing for eco-regional specific varieties and hybrids bred in the public system to the private sector and create competition? Why not come out with the BT cotton which is produced in the public system? Why not encourage those? Why not transfer BT into what then reorientation? Also, newer emphasis on research and its monitoring effectively so that there is delivery rather than open-ended research which is presently going on.
Sir, how ICAR through KVK or MG scheme can create an impact for establishing FPO in the villages?
FPOs, in fact, is a great opportunity. And the government law for farmer producer companies is providing a lot of opportunities and incentives. But then the farmer don't know. If I want to have farmer producer organization of 10 farmers with about 100 cows producing milk, organic milk, I just don't know what to do. They would require the hand-holding by institutions, whether it is KVK, whether it is a trained entrepreneur or extension agent, and to link them to the market. Most of the vegetables we have seen are being, if you go to West Bengal, marketed by young people who are associated with a small farmers organization or cooperative and linking themselves to market. This has happened also for baby corn in village which is called Aterna in Solipur district. So farmer producer companies are coming up, but they need exposure, they need knowledge, even they don't have idea where to go. When I was chairman of Haryana Farmers Commission, to tell farmers what are the government schemes and what benefit they can get, it took me 6 months to collect that information from different ministries. And that information keeps on changing. So who will provide this knowledge? I think extension people, the ICT people, young people can collate it and help them to take advantage of these opportunities. And that's where we have win-win scenario. Not that you have to be farmer alone, but you can help farmers to be more successful.
Sir, is there any need or is it time to include internship through industrial for 6 months in undergraduate program?
Well, I think, as I said, we need to have a relook at the entire agricultural education system. We started it on the land grant pattern when the first agricultural university in Pantnagar in 1960 was established. Since then, we have almost 72 universities, either deemed to be universities or central agriculture universities or state agriculture universities. Since 1960, we have not revisited. Whereas in the US itself, they have revisited it twice. You don't find now the College of Agriculture as a College of Agriculture in any of the agricultural universities. Most of those colleges are today College of Agriculture, they are College for Food Science. Now they are already thinking that they have to not only think of produce, but link it to the food and make it food science oriented. You go to those places, you don't find even Department of Agronomy. It is changed, the name is changed. I don't think you find any university or college which is College of Home Science. We need to rethink why home science is only for women. Now the home science has to be a bigger in terms of managing these kinds of value-added opportunities and involve all irrespective of the gender. And we have to also see that in the process, there is change in, when I talk to the industry while being the Director General, why they were not hiring our agriculture graduates, the answer was that they are not fit for our requirements, sir. I said, why? They said that we have to give them practical training for almost 1 year. And therefore we selected our own, who is a bright one, and train him according to our requirement. So we'll have to understand from private sector as to what is their requirement and how can we change and which subjects to be changed at what level. And that's how we brought in Ravi program at that time. But Ravi program did not continue as Ravi program indefinitely. It is supported by ICR. Why it should be supported by ICR only all the time? One would like to ask it. Is it not relevant to the state university and meeting the needs of the states? I think the whole issue of this education and the NAS had organized the Agriculture Science Congress in Bhubaneswar, which was steered at that time by Professor R.B. Singh, has come out with very important recommendations, but they need to be implemented. Most of these recommendations in these reports somehow remain just somewhere, not even on the websites. So how do you take advantage of those?
Sir, how community science student can help towards the advancement of agriculture from their field?
Community
science students.
Community science.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
community.
I think, well,
yes.
Well, social science or community science. In fact, you have to improve the stature and strata of the rural people. And how can it be done is a subject of greater concern. And we know that social progress index, about which I talked, the sustainable development goal, we had national dialogue and came out with very clear understanding that if we increase SDG more, doesn't mean we will be able to achieve sustainable development goals. We have to improve the social progress index, which is still only 55% compared to many countries where it is more than 70 to even 90%. And that social progress index is linked to not only sanitation, good water, clean water, health. The government has started giving emphasis to this, and also to having toilets in each house, and good food, better cooked food, also making it more efficient, how to save burning of fuel, and reducing carbon gas emission are many issues in which they can play their important role. And also they can help in knowledge sharing to a greater extent to the farming community, to not only do farming, but also to help the society and improve the status of the entire community.
Sir,
I think,
how?
okay, or you still have some more?
Sir, only one last question. How young researcher can manage balance between the need of publication-oriented research for sustaining his or her research career, which is far away from actual research that is need of the farmer?
That is why I said that, and I chaired the ARS committee as well as the ASRB reform committee. Have a look at those. We have already stated that let this research not be scorecard oriented. And if it is a scorecard, let it not be only publication oriented. Let this be innovation oriented. Let this be impact oriented. Let this be extension oriented. And let it be for the kind of service that a person has provided to the society. What is needed is you don't have to serve to earn for yourself. You must have a service motive behind to serve the society. And it's there. You don't have to think of only your own achievement. And why only achievements when you look at after 15 to 18 years, any scientist becomes a professor rank? Why the rest of the 12 to 15 years of his career, he doesn't contribute to this kind of social goal? Who stops him? And what he is aspiring? And where is accountability for that matter? I see accountability is another issue which is not able to distinguish between performer and non-performer. And that is what is my personal major concern in today's context. We must identify performers, we must reward them, and we must encourage them to not only change themselves, but to change the environment around. I hope it is clear.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you very much, sir. And sir, I also want to say something that from initiation or inception of ISA, we also raised several issues like Agriculture Council of India, Central Agriculture Services, ARS, sir, nowadays ARS eligibility and other things. and there are some gap. We also think that ICAR should get the more research fund. That's nowadays it is lacking. So research fund should be allocated by government more, or if it is possible that through MSME or Atma share, some amount can be transferred to the ICAR, because they all community are finally working for the farming community only. So if some share of fund can be shared to the ICAR, that can be one of the approach. So thank you, sir, very much for your great thinking, and we will share these slides with the students from our website, and we also circulated the 3 papers that was circulated by you, and it is also in our website, so people can download from there. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Well, thank you, Ashish, and thank you to Aisa for this opportunity. And I would like to wish at the end good luck to all the youth engaged in agriculture. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir.